Game Freak, the company behind Pokémon, was founded by Satoshi Tajiri and Ken Sugimori. With the then-new Nintendo Game Boy and its link cable, creativity blossomed. Tajiri had the idea of insects crawling across the cable from one console to another, spurred by his childhood pastime of collecting bugs. With the idea in mind, Game Freak began fleshing out Pocket Monsters and soon presented it to Nintendo for production. Though Nintendo didn't see the appeal nor believe the title would last beyond a single game, they were impressed with Tajiri's previous game creations and thus greenlighted the project. Pocket Monsters Red version and Green version premiered in Japan on February 26, 1996. Though it wasn't the first role-playing game on the Game Boy, it did create a classic gameplay style all its own. The player protagonist is gifted one of 3 starting monsters, and is then encouraged to catch them all in the game by battling the monsters against feral monsters and the enemy force known as Team Rocket, culminating in a showdown against a recurring rival to be the best in Kanto. Unique gameplay mechanics included exclusive monsters for each version, encouraging interaction, battles, and trade with other players using the link cable, and a secret end boss in the form of the monster Mewtwo. The competitive collectathon proved to be a success, and Pocket Monsters Red and Green went on to sell millions of copies in Japan. 2 years later, in 1998, they debuted in the US, rebranded as Pokémon Red and Blue. With the immediate popularity, Pokémon quickly became a cultural phenomenon and took the US by storm. In November of the same year, the second generation Gold and Silver premiered on the Game Boy Color, introducing 100 new Pokémon, genders, breeding, a real-time clock for day and night cycles, a friendship system for evolutions, and a brand new region known as Johto, plagued with the return of Team Rocket. During production, Game Freak expected Pokémon to end with Gold and Silver. However, the franchise proved to be immensely popular, selling millions of copies worldwide. Enter the third gen of Pokémon. These games were reworked from the ground up, and Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald released on the Game Boy Advance. From 2002 to 2004, fans got to explore the new island region of Hoenn in improved graphic fidelity. These games introduced weather, dueling evil teams Aqua and Magma, and double battles. 2004 also introduced a new trend in Pokemon games: remakes! Fire Red and Leaf Green debuted in the same year, updating the graphical quality, introducing new storylines, and implementing many features that were missing from the original games. With a new Game Boy console, the DS, came the 4th gen of Pokemon, found in the games Diamond, Pearl, and later Platinum. While exploring the region of Sinnoh and battling off Team Galactic, players were treated with 107 new Pokemon, pseudo-3D rendering of the overworld, aesthetic differences between certain species genders, alternate mechanics with a split between physical moves and special moves, and the Pokemon Super Contest side game. The 5th gen stayed on the DS, and Black and White debuted in 2010. The new region of Unova was a first in that it was no longer based on real regions in Japan, but rather the United States. But that wasn't the only first. It also introduced an expansion on the time system allowing for seasons. This changed when and where certain Pokemon would be available. The games also introduced 156 new Pokemon with updated sprites with constant movement, and also introduced the side game of Pokemon Musical and Triple Battles. At the same time, Gen 2 was given a massive update with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, with improved storylines and the ability for one chosen Pokemon to follow and interact with the player avatar. In 2012, the characters and setting of Unova were revisited in Pokemon Black and White 2, with the story set several years after the events of the first game. This marks the first and only time a generation has had a true sequel continuing a single story. In 2013, Pokemon moved consoles again, this time to the Game Boy 3DS with the release of X and Y. This time, France was the main inspiration for the region of Kalos. Though there weren't as many new Pokemon released as in previous generations, it's still a turning point in the game history with new graphics, with many sequences that can be viewed in 3D, the temporary but powerful game mechanic of Mega Evolution, the new typing of Fairy, and 2 sub-games that can be accessed anytime to further a player's bond with their Pokemon: Super Training to increase battle stats, and Pokemon-Ami to befriend and play with caught Pokemon. Those traits carried over into the remakes of Gen 3, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which were released in 2014. These games also introduced a new kind of post-game story, in which an entirely new, but connected story could be unlocked and played through. At the time of making this video, Pokemon Sun and Moon is slated to be released on the 3DS in 3 days! And if Pokemon has shown anything over the course of its history, there will surely be plenty of exciting new game mechanic changes and creatures to experience in the new Hawaiian-inspired region of Alola. Thanks for watching, and good luck out there, Pokemon Masters!